How do you think those conversations go? You think that they
Right?
just like roll on the ground? And the game in the United States has, well, let me go pull up the story here, Blabs. This is from Bounding Into Comics. Um, they had all sorts of LGBT content in the main game, flags and all sorts of stuff. But guess what? We released overseas in Saudi Arabia. We're just gonna make some changes to this, and you know, because why not? The global release, you know. So I obviously we're pointing out the extreme hypocrisy here that is attached to these games. If you truly stand with something, you should truly stand with it, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to selling the game to the Saudi Arabian audience, which is not very LGBT friendly, they decided to remove it because they would be able to sell more games. Melonie, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, this is just very par for the course in what we're seeing in the gaming industry in general. I mean, I covered this on a video yesterday, but it's like they've hired a bunch of activists instead of people who are actually passionate about the industry. So it's like their goal, one of their main goals, is to insert their politics, their virtue signaling, their this, that, and the other into these things. And but the fact that the companies themselves are releasing these alternate versions like this just goes to show that it's just, it's pointless virtue signaling, and there's no substance to it.
I wonder what the conversation is like to the people who are like, listen, we really need to have all these flags. We need to have all the,
Mhm.
these side missions and such, to really, to really get this through, to make sure that we're heard, right? And then somebody at the studio is like, well, yeah, but we're not going to have that in Saudi Arabia, right? How do you think those conversations go? You think that
Right?
they just like roll on the ground and start kicking and screaming immediately, or do they go to a dark, like a corner, and start crying? Like, how does that work exactly? I
There's
mean,
got to be somebody trained in PR that presents these ideas and use their PR speak to make it sound fluffier.
so it gives kind of a rundown of it. It talks about how it says on October 17th that the Web Slingers latest outing had cleared their approval process. The censorship board vaguely revealed via the official Twitter account, Marvel's Spider-Man 2 was classified after the publishing studio Sony approved the modifications required by the General Authority for hashtag media regulations. So Saudi Arabia was like, they have their own general authority of media regulation, and they went
Mhm.
and played the game. They said, hey, this needs to be changed. And guess who said, okay? Sony did. Sony's like, whatever we need to do. I'm very curious what this accounts to in sales, right? Because
Mhm.
we were looking at sales figures over in Japan for this game, and I think it sold like something like 70,000 copies. I can't imagine the Saudi market is much bigger than Japan's, right?
Right.
Right? Like,
That's true. So I wonder how that would even be worth it for them with the extra effort and all that sort of thing.
yeah, I think that's the question that I have for sure. Which I'm going to do a little digging here while we
Yeah,
talk
I'm
here.
actually
But
looking for some type of numbers. I
yeah,
haven't seen anything yet. I don't think they're out. Like those numbers are released yet.
well, it
Mm.
is what it is. And Dan's wondering how he gets this version. I don't know, Dan. I really don't know.
Go to Saudi
Um,
Arabia, buy a copy, and then come home.
like, and I think my thing about this is if you're going to remove this stuff, why not just
Mhm.
give people an option to remove all flags? Let's say I don't.
Yeah, in your
Let's say I don't
settings.
want the Canada flag or the United States flag or whatever. Just remove all of them. Just
That's
make
what
it.
they did in Call of Duty.
Did they remove all,
Oh,
all
I
the
didn't
flags?
know
Yeah,
they
don't
did
you
that.
remember Call of Duty last year? They used to have like the emblems where you could have your country's flag and all that. They
Oh yeah, yeah,
removed
yeah.
those. They're
That's
like,
right. That's right.
Oh, but they actually remove them and not just not okay, so it's different. Or with this, it's like having like an option, like, oh, do
yeah,
you
it would be really great if you could have a setting, kind of like how Lego has that setting where you can have the actual
right,
dialogue or like
yeah.
the moans and grunts and all that. They should be able to do that here. It'd be like ESG on, ESG off.
Right. I
Yeah.
and I think the bottom line for a lot of these companies, of course, is oh, they're getting money from it, that the ESG stuff and all that. And so They hire activists who make it their life mission to, um, you know, show all this stuff to children, especially. but but at the bottom line with the developers is like they just care about the money and that's it.
But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.